Hello there, and welcome into a brand new episode of The Drop Spot. Great to have you here with us. It's me, Adam, again, back in the hot seat, talking all things Fortnite competitive. And you guys, wherever you're watching or you're listening around the world, it is great to have you here. We've got a massive episode for you. They're all massive, but this one's particularly special. Why is that? Because the two guests out of this world. Jacob PR, the voice of Fortnite competitive in many respects, and also the almighty top 10 World Cup solos player and 3 points off winning grands in 2022. Fatch is in the house as well. Lads, it's great to see you. It's good to see you always, and I'm looking forward to this. I'll ask you first, Fatch, how is life? Welcome to the show. It is great to have you on.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. I've been pretty sick these past few days, but now I'm better, and been getting into content and coaching at the moment, and it's been going good. Already being invited to this podcast is a good sign that I'm doing good. So yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Jacob, I'm glad you're feeling better first and foremost. They say an
Thank
apple a
you.
day keeps the doctor away. I think a bit of drop spot keeps the doctor away as well. I mean, that's exactly what this is the
Maybe.
remedy. Jacob, how are you, mate? What's I mean, Fortnite competitive is absolutely exploding right now.
Yeah, it's definitely doing great. I'm having a fantastic time with Fortnite, season after season, FNCS, whether if it's contender switch in regions or just a chance to see some superstars rise. I have never been better and more excited to see everything here play out.
Me too, me too. And great to have you guys here. On this episode, we're talking about a few things. Obviously, we're going to cover FNCS Major 3 qualifiers and recap exactly what's been going down. Our new Make Your Case game. We trialed it last week. It was a wonder touch. This week, Fatch versus Jacob. You don't want to miss it. And we're going to talk about a day in the life for a pro as well. With Fatch on the show, it's very rare we get a pro on the drop spot. And obviously, we want to find out exactly what makes Fatch tick. We'll be asking a bit later on about that too. But first things first, FNCS Major 3 qualifiers. Fellas, it's been electric. That's what we expect from this competition. And obviously, we're all whittling our way towards September in our global championships. But let's start things off with NA here. Fatch, talk to me about Clix and Veno. I mean, first and fifth of the two qualifiers, they are looking very, very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean they've been dominating high ground on like every set lobbies, whether it's Cash Cup, even scrims, or in FNCS. We've been just seeing them spray it out the whole end game, and during like Zone 11, Zone 12, that's where they're retaking it, and then they're just winning the game, whether it's through heal off or through just eliminating the last players. So yeah, they've been really dominant in end game, but one thing that really is making them great is their mid game and early game is so well thought of that everything they do throughout the game is just perfect. When they get to end game, they're max mats, they have everything, and that's simply because they have the ability to claim the two hills north of their drop, which one of them has a forecast tower, and getting that forecast tower consistently with 80% spawn rate allows them to just always know everything about where the zones are going, keeping their mats, getting good storm search through knowing that, and also they just max out their search from that location, and then they just pad in late, maximizing everything and going away from all the congestion.
Yeah, it's something that's a great sight to see because it's not just one thing about their game plan that is just setting them apart. But I will say the biggest thing that sets them apart against so many other teams is the amount of respect they get on the region. He talked about the two hills all the way down to Sandy Steps. They spend most of the time split up as solos looting around because they know they have that type of respect around them. They're not afraid to jump on teams around their drop spot for some early game surge if they do need it. But I haven't really seen any team contest them at that forecast tower. So it's going to be really interesting to see if any team going into the semis, going into the grands will contest them, because if nobody does, I could see them, placing really, really high this season.
Well, as we've seen in previous seasons of FNCS as well, and competitive different competitions, how pivotal it is when you have two players that can frag out and get those elimination points, because they count for so much come like the end leaderboard there. But dare I say this as well, Clix, top player. Is he one of the top favorites? I mean, it could be one of the first times here, Fatch, that he could be the top dog to go all the way here. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I think it's one of the first time. I think the first time I really thought he had a chance of winning was back in trios when he played with Booga and Bizzle. They were really good that season. Also, a season that did not happen. They had the trio with Commandment and Bizzle. Also, they were super dominant the whole time playing together, but they didn't actually play on FNCS. I think that one would have been basically a guaranteed win. They were too dominant all over the place, but they didn't play. So this time, yeah, really, it's one of the first times. I don't think they're gonna be the team winning, but it's definitely one of the times he had like the highest chance of doing it.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that, Adam, because even if you look at his highest placements, let's just look at the most recent one where he got with Epic Whale. I think it was top 4. He wasn't necessarily a favorite to win the entire thing going into that one. So now when you look at a season like this, you got Veno, who's probably one of the more prolific fraggers in the Fortnite region, now taking over the IGL roles, the commanding respect that he has over Clicks as well. And a lot of people talk about the interactions sometimes that they have, but that's just the respect that they have of each other in the game. Sometimes it gets carried away, but I think Clicks understands the difference between business and personal. So I think this is just the biggest chance Clicks has. I think everybody in the region, whether you're, everybody watching Fortnite, not just one region, can look at this and say, hey, this is it. If Clicks is going to win an FNCS, it's going to be this one.
This could indeed be his moment. I mean, you talk about dominant duos as well. We saw last season one of the favorites, Peterbot and Puyo as well. They're back, won the second qualifier. Were they ever gone, Jacob? Were they always there, just waiting in the wings?
Yeah, no, I don't think they were ever gone. When you have a meta shift, from when they were dominating Grim Gates, the dashes were the more dominant thing that people were using to kind of rotate around to a season like this, where in the beginning we have the Nitro gauntlets, the Nitro splashes, and how powerful they actually were. So I don't think they were in their stride. I don't think they actually figured out how to play, because they're also one of the more aggressive teams. They're not going to sit back, wait, and try to figure out the game slowly. They're going to be in your face, figuring it out as it goes along. And I think they just finally figured it out. It may have taken them a week, maybe 2 weeks longer than anybody would have thought for a team like this caliber. But nah, they're here. They're here to stay. And, I don't think there's that many teams that can stop them.
And yeah, let's be honest, like a team that dominant in fighting can't be gone for too long. Like also landing Redline Rig this season, one of the best drop spots, if not the best one. They have the medallion that allows them to just heal up to 75 the whole game, so they can just save their shield the whole time by just passing each other the medallion when they get tagged. So they should get to endgame with really good heals. And then there's a super good team at fighting, so if they get in a bad situation, I'm sure they can just take a team out and be right back into it. So yeah, they're definitely not out of it ever, and they're a top team again this season for sure.
We've talked about how key it is to have a player or a teammate that can get those points, those elimination points. When you look at Peterbot, the most overall eliminations in the qualifiers with 462. That is going to get you a certain way. Just do it. That kind of work out there is going to get you right up the top of the leaderboard anyway. When you have that kind of consistency as well and the point scoring. I mean, we talk about kind of like dominant teams. Are there any other teams that viewers, listeners at home right now should be looking at for the rest of Major 3 and thinking, okay, these are ones in this region to look out for. These are particularly special. I personally recommend that it's worth checking them. Kick us off, Fatch. Any particular players that you think are certainly ones that you should have on your radar?
So I think obviously people already have them on their radar, being the team that they are, but Tayson and Yamzo are, for me, my favorite going in this season. They have the ability to do so much with their drop spot, and they're just such a consistent team, with Tayson being a 5-time FNCS winner, Yamzo being a super consistent fragger, hasn't got that win yet, but I'm sure he will this season. That's my call to win. And yeah, their drop spot is way too dominant. They can just stay in there, kind of like Clicks and Veno, just farm up their surge at their drop, and they don't have the risk that somebody's going to take their position because they're always staying near it. So they just sit there, stack up the whites, get a surge on everybody surrounding them, and then once they're in storm pretty late, they can get the bunker at their drop and then just head out with the fire rings and just get to that side.
That's a good point.
Great point. And like same question for you as well, Jacob. Like players or duos that you think are definitely worth keeping your ear to the ground for.
Yeah, I can go easy, and I can say Acord Cold, I could say Reet Ritual, I could throw in the Pinks Miros, but you know what? I keep my ear to the ground. You know what I mean? You know how tall I am. I keep my ear to the ground.
So
I'm trying to listen to who's playing well, who's playing consistent. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give this team, who actually has a shot to not only win, but get that global championship spot as well. It's Batman Booga and Rapid. This team has playing absolutely insane, super consistent, multiple Cash Cup wins, multiple top finishes in FNCS. I think they have finally figured it out. And, as Fatch and I were talking kind of before the show, they've been super consistent before this as well, but now they are in their prime. This is their peak. So for Batman, Booga, and Rapid, you got the full support of me on your shoulders. I guarantee you qualify for the global championship, but it's all about that FNCS title. Let's get it.
Look, if Jacob PR vouches for you, that's as good as winning FNCS and the AXA Champions in my eyes. I mean, that's pretty much as big as it goes. Let's talk about EU for a second as well here. After focusing on NA there. Talk about surprise winners for a second. Starkus Ifrozi winning the second qualifier. Only played 2 finals together, which is the first qualifier and also a 3rd place in a performance evaluation cup. We're starting to see some surprises. I mean, we talked about kind of the different teams that are kind of flip-flopping to different regions at the course of this year thus far. But when you get a team that have managing to do so well, a bit of a surprise for us, I guess it makes it even more enticing to watch, doesn't it, Thatch? Kind of seeing their kind of the success and being relatively kind of newcomers to the winning ways.
Yeah, I think EU is going to be super interesting this season. I don't think a team like that will dominate come grand finals because I think they lack a lot of experience and haven't dominated enough in set lobbies to say they're going to do well in a 12-game format. But they're for sure a good team and they could do well in that. I wouldn't be surprised to see them miss grands though. I was watching their games. They have a shaky mid game. They did better when they were fighting a lot through mid game, which as we saw in as usual throughout the seasons, is not a consistent play style. I know they're contested so far in upper brackets, so that could be difficult for them. And also, one thing I noticed, they seem to over tarp a lot in endgame, which for me is kind of interesting because why would a team that's having this many flaws, because I'm just noting flaws, like they've played well for sure, like I'm not just trying to bash on them, but like they have a lot of flaws, and why are they winning? And I haven't figured out why. EU seems to be super inconsistent this season. Nobody seems to actually get their feet in the ground and keep getting to endgame all 6 games, being like a win in the 200 points when we see NA and other regions being in 300 plus points. So I'm not too sure what's happening on EU, but I still think the top teams being Swizzy Vaniac, Malibu Mustache, or Queasy Thomas, or teams like Teen and Chap are going to be the ones taking it this season. I don't think there's going to be a super big surprise, even though I think EU is going to be super interesting to see who actually does well, because so far we haven't seen anyone really dominate.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I think a little bit differently. I'll start off with the points that I like. I like the EU. The players have actually been really, really inconsistent, which creates these storylines with so many big superstars moving on over regions, go play on NA. These guys got their chance. This is a career-changing moment for a lot of players here on the region of EU. Not only do you get the FNCS money, you get a chance at that AXA Champions, but there's 10 global championship spots up for grabs with millions of more dollars to be won. So this is a life-changing moment, and I think a lot of players may have realized that. And you got to go ahead and look at the past couple of seasons. I might get shots fired back at me for this one, but Venu and Tayson, 11th and 15th, the last 2 majors leading up into this one before they switched regions. So they weren't necessarily the biggest threats in the grand finals already. And now with so many shifts, I think this is a chance to where at least half, and I'm really hoping, cross the fingers, half of our players into the top 5 or top 10 going to the global championship are some new names. Do I think it's going to be Starkus and Frazi? I don't know, because there's just so much inconsistency. And the biggest thing that I agree with that he said is experience will prevail overall, though.
It always does. Experience is everything, and we talked about on the last episode as well about being in front of like the crowds. That makes a massive difference if you had that experience as well. So many things to get excited about. But one thing's for sure: Global Championships is going to be unforgettable, absolutely incredible. There are still tickets available. If you want to be there, you can be. fn.gg/tickets. If you want to be there at Global Championships this September, do it. Get involved. You can be there and see all these players that qualify. It's last chance saloon major 3 for these players to get there, and then the best of the best battle it out to be the champions, the global champions. fn.gg/tickets. Make sure to have a look, and you could be there. Right. Last week was amazing because we had a new game and we had a good time playing that new game. And now it's time to play it with Thatch and Jacob PR. The game is called Make Your Case. And if you didn't see this last week, you can see if you're watching this talk show, you can see how excited Jacob and Thatch look right now. They look absolutely elated to be here for this because they know it's one of the most fun things going on the internet right now. Make your case if you didn't see it before. Ultimately, Jacob and Thatch are going to have a battle against each other. They're each going to have 45 seconds each across 3 different subjects to convince moi, prove their case, and I will award a point to the person that I think proves their case best ultimately. So three subjects, each get one different thing to convince me of. 45 seconds, with 30 seconds last time. It's 45 seconds this time. Before we kick off, Fatch, any fighting words to Jacob?
Not really. I just wanted to add something about earlier because we talked about experience in in going in future tournaments, and it can help for sure. And I talked about it in my own statement, but I think it still is kind of overrated when you think about it. Chap, I'm pretty sure won EU, or did he get second? I'm not sure exactly where they placed last season, but it was his first grand finals, I'm pretty sure, and he did this well. And as a player that played, like, World Cup was my first LAN. That's like my best result ever, and I wasn't too nervous playing on stage. So to be honest, I think it depends on the players, and sometimes like just the first time could actually be the best time for you because you're just no nervous, maybe just going in like, I don't know what's gonna happen, I'm just gonna try my best and see what happens, and sometimes that can work better for you.
I think Jacob, in a roundabout way there, Fatch was saying, I wasn't nervous at World Cup, so you're about to get smashed in this game. I think that was what he basically was saying in a roundabout way.
I'm thinking he said, look at my hand, then look at my hand. This is me, and then the Fatch is just he's not even shaky at all. He's ready. He's playing in a finals lobby. Right?
He's just
I'm just a lobby filler.
Whatever. Yeah, I love it. I'll just see it. Right. Okay. Here we go. We're gonna kick things off here. The first question in our Make Your Case is going to be, who is the greatest of all time? 2 players selected. Who should we kick off with? Let's kick off with Fatch first. Okay. Fatch, you're going to be allocated Tayson. Jacob, you'll be convincing me that it's Booga. Okay, you're each going to get 45 seconds. Fatch, you're going to kick us off here with convincing me, everyone at home, that Tayson is the greatest of all time. Let's get some time on the clock here. And in 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Okay, so first off, Tayson won 5 FNCSs. That's insane on the harder region. Also, I'm going to be honest, Booga wasn't the best players on his FNCS wins. Tayson was. He won 2 solo FNCSs. Also, that's great achievements. 2 out of 2, I'm pretty sure. 2 out of 2 FNCS wins on solos. And he was dominant on all layers, low ground, mid ground, high ground, which is not something we've seen from Booga. We've seen him dominate low ground and mid ground, but not high ground as much. And Tayson is just, in my opinion, a way more complete player. He's dominated with everyone he's played from the moment he started to actually be on the top. He's had some down seasons like everyone, but I think overall he's just the best players, and I don't need to say anything more.
Yeah, 3 seconds to go. I mean, I put my fingers up, but you can't even see it. It doesn't matter. I like that a lot. The fact that you've basically not only celebrated Tayson, but also said, by the way, Booga's a bit rubbish because of these things. I quite like you've done that.
He's still amazing. Okay, I'm just playing the game.
He is, he is. I mean, it's Booga. But at the same time, I like that from you, Fatch. Great start there with Tayson. Okay, so Jacob, it's over to you now. I like the points made. Booga convinced me. 45 seconds in 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
And let's just start with history. This is the greatest of all time. Booga has been doing it from the very, very early stages. He qualified for the World Cup and did more than just that. He dominated. We could have ended the tournament early, but everybody still needed something to watch, still needed something to be entertained. And then we go ahead and fast forward. The 3 FNCS championship wins. You might not have thought he was the best player on the team, but there's more than just fragging ability. There's the IGL, the smarts, their awareness, and bringing your teammates up. And I think Booga has done that and more through every one of his teammates. And we talk about the highs, let's talk about the lows. He might have had some lows, but Booga has always been able to bounce back. Just when you think he's out and you think he's washed up, there he is in the top 5. There he is in the global championship, the invitational. You could just stack all his accolades up. That's it.
That's it. That was good. No! He was riffing there. He was getting into a flow.
I was ready.
You almost started to rap. That was huge. Okay, great points, well made there. Question is, who was more convincing? Do you know what? You make a good point. I mean, obviously, many good points there. And you're right, Booga has been consistently up there or thereabouts. Okay, this is okay. I'm making the decision. So we move on to the round 2. Purely on the fact that if you are someone who has not played or watched much Fortnite and you simply search the fact that Booga is the World Cup Solos champion, I think people would kind of naturally presume the greatest of all time. So although Tayson has got all those accolades and totally deserves to, I'm simply going to go for Booga on this occasion. So Jacob, you're going to go. That's it. I'm sorry, Fatch. I'm sorry. This is a baptism of fire here on the drop spot for you right now. I've gone straight for that 1 point for Jacob. Okay.
Don't worry, Fatch. He said I didn't win. Booga won. That's what he just said right now.
Booga won.
Listen, bro, my players started playing later. You'd have like 7 or 8 titles. Like, it would not even be close.
Okay. Right, next up. Okay, so 1 point to Jacob there. Next up, this is a question. Which game mode is better? Solos or duos? Fatch, I'm going to give you duos. Jacob, you're going to have solos. Jacob, as you won the last round, you're going to kick this one off now. Solos, Jacob, in 3, 2, 1. Convince me.
I mean, what's more skillful than just having yourself to worry about? Your back's up against the wall. You don't have anybody to get you out of it, whether if it's duos, trios, squads. There's nobody there. It's by yourself. You have just your same item slots, whatever material you've been able to farm, instead of kind of being able to leech off of your teammate. And solos is just a whole different amount of skill. There's 99 other players dropping in, trying to take you out. There's danger around every corner. And if you're one of those teams that don't want to fight for a big POI, it takes just as much, if not more, skill fighting for those split drops. And this is the last point. I may not need even all my time, but me and Fatch played together in duos against Vivid, and I do believe it was NPen, right? And guess what? We lost. Guess whose fault it was? Mine. Fatch. If he was a solo, he would have won. Point made.
And that's time on the money. Okay. I love to see what he did there, Fatch. He was very clever. He's brought you in. He's gone, hey,
me.
Fatch, welcome into my point. And used you as his point that solos is better.
That's a good strategy.
That's 200 IQ plays there. Okay. Right, that was Jacob on solos. Fatch, it's on to you for duos now in 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
All right, so obviously solos entertaining, but is it really skillful when you think about it? You could just have a player in your back or someone in front of you. You just tag him, and then you're like, oh, this player tagged me, and I'm gonna just ruin this player's game. When you're playing duos, you have your teammate to calm you down. This type of stuff does not happen. Players are way more calm and way more strategical, so no dumb stuff happening. You can do many strats, split basing, flaming space, every type of plays that you can make in team modes that you can't make in solos. And solos are just like, I'm sitting in my box, I'm waiting, I'm not having fun, not talking to anyone except if you're teaming, which is not recommended. I wouldn't do that. And then that's all you do. You just sit there and you wait. When you're playing duos, you have this many strats. You can play layers. You can play flanks. You can do many strats.
That's it. Time's up. I'm cutting you.
He convinced me at that last play. I'm just waiting.
He convinced me.
You're just
waiting in
there.
a box.
You
just waiting in a box. That's a good point. It's a good point. Again, both valid efforts on which one was the best there. On the fact that, I mean, Fatch has been one of the biggest duos over the course of however many years and seasons. I got to kind of lean towards duos there. Yeah. And I think as well, like, you know, basically saying solos is just ultimately waiting around in boxes was amazing. So that's fair. So it's 1-1. I think it's completely fair that it's 1-1.
I'm okay with that. I'm 100%.
You're okay with that. You're okay with that. I mean, well, Pamstone and Thatch. I mean, that's what I'm going to say. Duo. I mean, yeah, it's a thing. Okay. So that leads us on to our very last question here. So this is a tiebreaker. Okay. Who would win a USA v Canada 4v4 zone wars? Okay, who would win a USA v Canada 4v4 zone wars? So 4 Canadian players versus 4 American players going head to head. Fatch, I'm going to give you Canada as a Canadian. It makes a lot of sense. Yep. Jacob, as a US citizen, it makes a lot of sense you having a USA. Okay, so Fatch, I'm going to have you kick us off here with Canada. It's going to kick us off. Okay, so in 3, 2, 1. Go ahead, Fatch.
So for my squad, I would have Yamzo, Acorn, Rise, and Aviv. This squad composed of 2 IGLs, 2 fraggers. Obviously, you don't really need IGLs when you're playing Zone Wars, but these are the 4 best Canadian players. They could have Acorn and Rise cooking up crazy strats, while Yamzo and Aviv, which Aviv is basically a human aimbot, could just frag out. And I'm sure on paper, they probably aren't as strong as a US team in terms of per fighting. But to be honest, with the strats they could be cooking up, on how to take high ground, how to set up those flanks and those zone wars, I'm sure they could do something to actually win that lobby. So they would be underdogs, but I'm sure they would have a great shot. And yeah, that's it. Don't really know what else to add.
Nate, you have 3 seconds left. That's fine. I think, mate, solid. I mean, just the team there is is really good. I mean, it's a solid team, isn't it? Very
Yeah.
solid. Acorns in the mix. Rise.
I wouldn't want to run into my lobby. I'll tell you that.
I would avoid it.
Oh, yeah, that squad is scary.
I wouldn't go there.
I'll wait in my box just a little bit longer.
Dare I say, I would run away. Just run away and leave that Canadian foursome well alone. Okay, that's Canada. Love that from you, Thatch. It's on to you for Team USA here, Jacob. And 3, 2, 1. Convince me.
Okay, we got a stacked lineup here on this side of things. Team USA, Team Jacob Pierre, we got Peterbot, we got Reet, we got Cold. And you know what? I need an IGL. I need somebody to keep him calm, cool, and collected. And guess what? I'm going to throw Booga into that mix just because we were just talking to him. This is a roster that has both brains and bronze. This team can outmuscle anybody, whether if it's high ground, low ground, anything that they want is going to be theirs. And, you know, our star player, Reet, this guy willingly, knowingly puts himself into 1v4 zone war situations just to make sure he keeps his skill up to top notch. This team has everything what it takes to not only take on Team Canada, but let's just take on the world. Let's just put them through the ringer and take on every single region because that's what they're ready for. Cut time. We can just save the rest.
That's it. Time religion on that. That is on the money. That was on the money. Again, superb points well made there. Again, the team is just next level. Like we got. I mean. It's this. You can understand, appreciate the position I'm in here, guys. Ultimately, I'm going to offend an entire nation, and it's going to be.
Be careful what you say.
Wasn't me. Okay.
So, if I'm being, it should be a tie, but I can't do that because that would be what we say in England is bottling it. We need to go through it. We need to make sure we pick someone here, simply for the fact that he uttered the words, "Hey, we'll take on whoever. We would take on the world." I think Jacob puts the USA in a high stead there, and I'm going to go with Jacob on that one. Jacob 2-1 to Jacob, guys. Love to see it. Make your case. What a game!
Congrats, Jacob.
Game. But
good game.
It was basically 50-50 that last one. I can't choose because I think those two teams, Zone Wars 4v4, that would be an immense watch. Either way, it could go either way. It could be that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like US, you have so many choices of how you want to make a like super stack team. Like you could have replaced like Boog with like someone like Bolts and like in pure fighting style. Like that team can't lose.
I almost threw clicks in there and I realized I didn't have an IGL. I was like, I needed somebody there. And the thing about about your roster though, just to play, a little bit advocating for your side, is your roster may not necessarily on paper stack up against some of the USA rosters, but your roster is full of underdogs who have consistently proven people wrong. So Adam, if this is a tie, if it's not a tie, man, it can go either way because I think all of these guys are incredible.
Yeah, I think maybe we could have the world's first tie just across the board here, and make on any form of quiz. Make your case. You let us know at home here, and be kind to me for making that decision there at the end, please be kind. Okay, right. Let's move on into kind of before as we have here on the show, Thatch. It'd be great to talk to you a bit about just like a day in the life of a pro. Ultimately, I think a lot of our kind of viewers, listeners are always really interested to find out kind of the perspective of pro players because everyone would aspire to be one. And what that kind of lifestyle's like. Jacob, I guess we just kind of like throw some questions Thatch's way about kind of like what it's like. I mean, dare I ask, basics as a pro, let's talk about you're in the middle of a season, your day-to-day life. Talk us through that kind of early morning routine of the likes of first task of the day, the breakfast of champions. What does Thatch's world look like?
Listen, I mean, it's not too complicated. Wake up, shower, toast with peanut butter and bananas on top of them. Just eat that. Then,
crunchy or smooth?
Crunchy.
Good man, that's my guy.
Bro,
my guy right there.
It's the trio right here. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, and then I mean, at this point, like I kind of just depending on the day. If let's say I played a tournament yesterday, maybe I'm gonna go VOD a couple of my games, or like if I have something planned with a friend, maybe play tennis or go play hockey. Like because I have a rink in front of my house, so I can just go out there and play a bit. And yeah, just like a pretty calm morning, not doing anything too crazy.
Okay, I guess just kind of backtrack on that question. What time do you actually wake up? Because I think us gamers, they're notorious, for waking up late, especially with the tournament starting late in the day.
Yeah.
What time do you wake up, and then how important is that to you in your overall like preparation for an actual tournament?
So obviously, when I was in school, so most of the first couple of years of doing competitive, waking up at like 8 a.m. that was rough, pretty rough. Going to sleep at like 1 or 2 a.m. But in the later stages, like let's say recently, probably around 1 or 2 p.m. would be the norm. So yeah, pretty late.
One,
Get the
one
beauty
or
sleep.
2 p.m. Wow, that's yeah. You need beauty sleep. I
Yeah.
mean, I get it. I get it, man. I get it. I was going to ask you actually about kind of like the competitive aspect as well, like with the players you mentioned, and you kind of see the success of Peterbot, Poyo, Clicks, and Veno, and European players and such too. With VOD reviews, are you kind of going back? Are you kind of watching only the top teams and kind of what they're doing in certain situations? Are you kind of focusing more on teams that happen to be focusing on the same POI as you, the same kind of like drop spots and whatnot? Like what would you kind of tend to do day to day kind of when it comes to reviewing kind of others' gameplay?
So when I'm gonna review to actually improve my own gameplay, I'm gonna review obviously myself to figure out what I'm actually dying to and how I can like pre-plan my game to not happen to die to that situation. So let's say I run out of mats. I'm gonna break down my game to why did I run out of mats in that position? Because usually what will happen is I'm gonna do a mistake 5 or 10 minutes earlier, which is where I'm gonna lose the mats that are gonna kill me later. So just breaking my games down like that. And when I watch top teams, I'm gonna go look for the strats that work for them. So let's say Klex and Veno, how are they actually taking a high ground every game? Because they must be doing something, right? Doing it every single game. So let's say for the early game, the reason they get to end game with max loot is because they play Storm in the mid game. And the reason they can play Storm in the mid game is because they get so much surge early from playing their hill position. So just breaking down their games like that to figure out strats that would work for me. And yeah, that's basically what I VOD for. And the teams around me, I would only VOD them if I'm getting close to grand finals to just figure out their timings. So maybe I can cut up their route, like on their way, like let's say up north, they're always at 3 minute 50 in that position. At 4 minute 10, there's that team in that position. So just making up timings to just find spots to get my storm surge.
So my question is, are you doing that alone? Are you spending a lot of time with your duo? Does your coach come involved? Because I know you guys had a helpful coach during your and Pamso's career. Was it through all of the career? I take us into that side of things. How much time is spent as a duo, solo, and then obviously your full team with the coach.
So at first, I started doing this in trios, mostly with W carry. Pamstu being the fragger in trios and also in duos wasn't as much with me when I'm doing that. He doesn't really need to. I'm the only one that actually needs to like know the stuff. And in trios, me and Carry kind of co-IGL'd. He was more the one taking the decisions, but we were making the plans together. So we would figure out the timings, we would go in customs, we would do our loot routes, and then we would leave the POI to just see, depending on zones, what would do good. And we would do custom runs every night for like an hour and a half, which got us really to like figure out really good timings on everything. And that's why we were like super good in trios, and that's how we learned to like actually step up our game. And then in duos, I kind of stopped doing that a bit, and then I restarted more doing that type of stuff when Sven got involved with us. He started coaching us. Like it was a kind of random. We were playing heats in that first duo season, and then he just DM Pamsu like, "Why are you guys doing so bad? Like you're supposed to be good." And then we got in a call with him. He live coached us. We won the heat with him live coaching us. Like we actually dominated, getting only top fives and then winning a game, which got us through grands instantly. And then yeah, he just became our coach from that moment, and we just kept him all the way, and we just kept VOD reviewing stuff and figure out the same kind of stuff that I talked about, but with Sven as the coach.
Cool. Well, I'm actually quite interested as well about just like the language side of things as well. Obviously, French is a predominant language of yourself. Calls in English and in French, is it simpler, more to the point, more concise when you're calling those things in French? Not necessarily because of like a grasp of the language necessarily, but is it just like, are the calls different depending on the language? Is it more kind of fluid, one or the other?
I mean, it's pretty similar because I'd say English is a more concise language than French, but French for me is so much more natural than I actually speak it way faster. And like just like right now during this conversation, I'm kind of thinking in French at the same time as speaking in English. So like it's kind of weird, but like having my teammates speak French and my coach speaking French, that just made everything way simpler. We can just get information out and processing it way faster. So I'd say English is probably a better language if you're mastering one and you want to like just use that one to do your comms in. But in French for me it's faster because like it's my language, so everything in my brain just works in French.
I like that. I like that. He's just kind of quick with it, quick thinking coming out of Fetch. But so let me put you in a hypothetical situation and let me see how your thought process works. You're in a tournament, 3 games are done. Let's just say you're 100 points out of first place, maybe in top 10. What is your thought process in a situation like that, and how do you not only pick yourself back up, how do you pick your teammate back up into it, and how do you practice for something like that?
So I just kind of want to clarify the question. Why am I actually just playing for first only? Let's say in that situation. Because
Well,
like
that's your mindset. Then,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Bring us through your mindset.
So I mean, let's say it's a grand finals, right? Okay, and I'm in 10th place, like 3 games out. I know catching up to first is basically impossible, and every single game I play, I just go with the mindset that how do I win this game? Like you just want to win every game you play, right? And just take them individually. That's kind of what I learned through playing tennis earlier in like my childhood, I guess, because I was just like I was getting really frustrated with like the outcome of a match at some point. And what a coach said to me is just like play it point by point. Like don't focus on like the overall result of what's happening. Just focus on the point. So that's kind of what I'm doing when I'm playing competitive. Just focus on that one game and just do the best and you're gonna see what happens. You can't control what everyone's gonna do because let's say you're in 10th and 100 points away from first. First might get second all 3 games, and even if you won all of the games, like you're still not catching up to them. So you just gotta focus on yourself and do your best and just hope everything works out.
I like that.
Love that. Play the game that's in front of you. I think it's
Exactly.
that's great tip, great advice for any of you guys aspiring players too. And you know, I mean, I think we can all agree that it's been c'est magnifique having Thatcher on the show today. There you go, bit of my French there. That's all I got in the locker. That's all I got in the rack. Yeah, thanks. But and Jacob, wonderful having you as here, buddy. It's been so much fun. Where can we find you both online as well? Thatch, socials, where are you?
FatchFan on Twitter and just Fatch on YouTube.
And Jacob?
Just Jacob _ MVP on Twitter, and then Jacob MVPR everywhere else.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show today, fellas. Absolutely amazing. Of course, FNCS is out there. Major 3 is in the works, and Global Championships later on this year. fn.gg/tickets. That is where you can get your tickets to be there at Global Championships in Fort Worth, Texas. Do not miss the opportunity. It is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime op. Do not miss out on that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. The Drop Spot will see you very, very soon. Until then, take care. Bye-bye for now.
Shot, 'cause I'm always in range.